All right, we're going to talk today about one cold and wet Thanksgiving on the river. So, growing up, we've talked about it a couple of times now. We did a lot of trot lining and camping, fishing. So, up on the Trinity River on I 59, if you're familiar with Houston, north of Houston, 59 goes over Trinity. Underneath there, you used to be able to camp, and they've widened roads and stuff now. So, I'm not sure if you can. A good boat ramp, real super steep down the riverbank, really a cool place. And as a kid, we grew up. Mom and Dad had friends that would go and camp, and we'd camp down there and run trot lines all night. And they would lots of adult beverages, and they would play dominoes. And every 2 hours, we'd go run the trot lines. So that was part of the childhood growing up, and it was really a cool experience being a river rat and running a big 16-foot flat bottom with a little 20 on the back of it. There's lots of stories coming about that flat bottom, about that 20 horse, and some things that happened with that. But this particular Thanksgiving, Dad was off for the entire week, so he told me before he left for his last day of work, which on probably a Thursday or Friday, I don't know, who knows, it's been a long time ago. But he said, go over to the bar ditch, take your net and stuff, and catch us some bait for the weekend, which was crawfish. And so I did. I spent the day catching crawfish, dragging the net up and down the bar ditch. And, you know, a lot of folks don't know what a bar ditch is. Just a big drainage ditch that holds water all the time, has lots of crawfish, little catfish, things like that in it, snakes, and whatever else somebody threw out of their car going down the road. We found all kinds of stuff as a kid. But anyway, this particular time I'd caught all the crawfish and got the boat loaded and put them in the number 10 wash tub. If you know what a number 10 wash tub is, you put about a half inch of water in it and you put them crawfish in there, and they live for weeks in there. So we did that. I got that all ready and waiting on him to get in from work, had the tent ready. So he gets in, and he had an old, small, not the big station wagons, but a small Ford station wagon. So he gets there and he backs up to the boat, and we load the tent and the coolers up, and he tells Mom bye, and we off to Trinity River we go. And it's about a 2.5 hour drive from where we were at to up there. So we're headed up that way. The key factor here is there's a major Canadian Arctic blue cold front, they call them. They called them blue northers, what they called them back in the day. So we knew that was coming, and it was going to be one of those weekends that if it come in, and Dad was thinking it's going to be a great fishing because of the weekend with the cold front coming, pressure dropping. So as we got there, we knew it was coming. The winds had started picking up, and it's right at dark. And he's like, "Well, do you want to set up camp, or do you want to go ahead and go set the lines, or wait till in the morning? What do you want to do?" So I'm a kid. He's letting me decide. I'm like, well, "Let's go put the lines out and see what we can do, and we'll come back and put the tent and everything up." So we did. We went, put the boat in, and went up the river and set out two lines, two all the way across the river lines. One of them I will never forget because it was across an old pipeline, which meant that it was cleared out, and there were some things when you lay a pipeline, there's weighted things that hold the pipeline down. So it gave it structure. So we run these lines across there, and they're 50 hook lines apiece. And we get it set up, we head back, set a few throw lines, a few limb lines on the way, get back, set up camp. And as we're setting up camp, it starts to drizzle. The wind picks up a little bit more. This front's starting to blow through. So we get all set up, and we get in the tent, and it comes a turd floater. I mean, absolute torrential rain is coming down. Now, usually we would camp under the bridge, so it didn't matter if it rained. But this particular time, they had it marked off. You couldn't camp under the bridge anymore because of an incident back in the 80s called Tent City down there. You couldn't camp under the bridge. You had to camp in the designated camping area by the boat ramp. So that's what we did. And we've got rain coming down, and the tent's leaking, and 20, 30 mile an hour winds out of the north, and it is blowing, and it's cold, and everything's getting wet. So we snuggled up on the tent, in the tent on the cot with sleeping bags, and man, we were soaking wet and freezing cold. We get up the next morning. Well, probably stayed up most of the night, but anyway, so we get up and we head out, and we get down to the boat, and it is super foggy. And back then, there's no GPS. You just followed, you're going upriver because of the way the current's going. And you look for landmarks. You look for things, trees, and we had flagging tape, survey tape that we would hang along the way to mark limb lines or certain trees to know that, okay, this is where the last line is going to be at this double tape, whatever color it may have been, purple and red or whatever color we use. This is where our last line is, and we can turn around and go back down river. We caught fish on all but probably 5 hooks. We had 2 over 30-pound blues. got pictures, and I'll try to get all that together sometime and kind of put them with the video. But really a cool trip. But we had so many fish in the bottom of that flat bottom boat. We get back to the camp, and like I said, we're still wet and shivering and cold, and everything is wet in the tent. And we get up there and we start putting the fish in the coolers. We realize we don't have enough coolers for all the fish that we caught. So Dad's like, well, we're going to have to break camp and go to the house, get these fish taken care of, and just call it a weekend and maybe come back later in the week during the holiday. So we head back and we get in the car. We get the camp broke down. Shouldn't say we head back. We get the camp broke down. Everything loaded in the car. Boat loaded back up. And we're sitting there at the car idling, and heater's blowing, and it's warm, and it's nice, and we're getting thawed out. And about that time, he looks over at me, and he goes, boy, we're about some dumbasses. He said, we could have slept in this station wagon last night with the car idling, with the heater on, and stayed dry. But it was well worth it. The cold was worth it. It makes you tough, but it made those fish bite. One of the best trot line running trips that I had in my entire life to this day, with numbers of fish and the absolute size. So that's what's happening. You know, we had a great trip, great memories. I hope y'all enjoyed the story.